We will continue with the chapter measures of dispersion. In the previous video I have explained what do you mean by dispersion. That means how much your original value deviate from the mean or the average value or the central value. So this deviation can be calculated by different methods. Now in our study we will first do range. Now this is the very easiest method of calculating dispersion. Suppose x is a variable and it takes values like so these are the values. Now how to calculate range? Range means that what is the extent. Okay, suppose if I say that the range of marks is 10 to 20, that means students have got in between 10 to maximum 20. So range gives you the lower and the upper limit of marks or of anything. So here we will understand the dispersion by this method range. So how to calculate range? Suppose x is a variable, so it takes different values. So the x max minus x mean gives the range. That means when x variable takes the maximum value, what is the maximum value that the variable can take? So from this data you can see 95 is the maximum value. And what is the lowest value the variable can take? That is 2. For example, if I take the same thing, x is your maths marks. So in a particular year you gave 6 exams of maths. But your maths marks is variable because every exam you get different marks. You got 2, 4, your performance improved 9, 15, then 95, again it dropped 70. So your maths marks is a variable because in every exam you get different marks. If I want to know that how much your value is maths marks is dispersed, that means what is the variability of your maths marks? Your maths marks is of very high variability because once you are getting as max as 95 and once you are getting as low as 2. So if you check it, 95 minus 2, 93 is the variability result. So you are taking a value which is as low as 2 and once you are getting a marks which is as high as 95. So the data, how much variable it is? From 95 you will deduct 2 and you will get the variability of this data set. Now this range calculation, if it is given like this, suppose x is the maths marks again and f is the frequency of the data set. Frequency means how many times it is occurring. For example, if I take 2, 4, 9, these are the maths marks. If I take 2, 4, 7, what does it indicate? Or I am changing the figure, 3, 5, 7. So x signifies the maths marks of the obtained by 3 different students. Sorry, 3 different maths marks, 2, 4 and 9 out of an exam of 10 marks. And frequency means number of times that they occur. So 2 is a marks in maths which occurred how many times? 3 times. That means 3 students got this marks. Then 4 is the maths marks. How many times it occurred? 5 times. So 5 students got 4. And 9 is the highest marks out of 10. 7 students have got. So frequency tells you the number of students or the number of times this maths marks or the variable takes this value. So x is the marks of maths which is variable and the variable takes the value 2 And how many times it take? It takes for 3 students. So the number of times this value comes 3. The number of times you can see max value takes 4 is 5. That means the variable takes this 4 as the value. How many times? 5 times. So here the frequency is also given. Now if you have to calculate the range. So there is no confusion should be there in calculating range. For range we don't consult the frequency table. We are only concerned with variability of data. That means the max marks is the variable. So from the maximum max marks is 9 obtained by the students. From there we subtract the minimum max marks, that is 2. So the range or variability of the data set is 7. Somebody is getting as low as 2, somebody is getting as high as 9. So the max marks is spread out. It can be low as 2, it can be high as 9. So dispersion basically shows how much is the spread. So max marks is a variable. People do get different marks. But how much variable? Somebody is getting as low as 2, somebody is getting as maximum as 9. So that the variability between the data set is of 7 marks. Now, if x, instead of these 2, 4 and 9, if I give a particular, instead of a particular number, if I give a range 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, what does it signify? It signifies that how many students, it signifies that max marks is lying between 10 to 20. So anyone can get 11, 16, 15, but it lies within this range. And how many students are there? There are 3 students who have got marks within this range. Similarly, we call it class. And class interval is taken how much? The gap between 20 and 10 is of 10 marks. Now suppose students who have got between 20 to 30. So within 20 to 30, it can be 20, it can be 30, it can be any marks in between them. So how many students have got within this range? 5. So can you see the x variable is always taking different value. Either it will take from 10 to 20 or from 20 to 30 or from 30 to 40. Instead of giving the exact number, we are specifying a class. So, and frequency tells how many students belong to this class. How many have got within this marks, how many within this and this. So now if you have to calculate the range value. So first I showed only if x table is given. Then I showed if x is a particular value and frequency table is given. And now I will tell you that if range is given or class interval is given for x and the frequency table is also given. How to calculate range? It will be calculated by the uppermost value that the variable can take. So the students who are getting between 30 to 40, there will be some who are getting 40 also. So this is the maximum marks in max. So maximum x value is 40. And what is the minimum marks? See the lowest class interval 10 to 20. So within this students marks are there. But there can be student who is getting 10. So this is the lowest marks which can be obtained in the paper. This is the highest. So maximum is 40 minus minimum is 10, which is equal to 30. So when class interval is given, frequency table is given. Frequency table is useless for calculating range. We are only bothered about how much variability is there in the values of the variable. So max minus mean generally gives you, here when intervals are present, we take the upper boundary, we call this lower class boundary. This is a particular class. This is the lowest class boundary. So this class starts from 30 and the highest class boundary is 4. The 40. Upper limit is 40. So we take the upper limit of the highest class boundary of the highest class minus we take the lower class boundary of the lowest class. So that is the method of obtaining. Now the last technique, suppose you can see here continuous class is given. What do you mean by continuous? 10 to 20 and the next class is starting from 20 to 30. Then the next is starting from 30 to 40. So you can see the upper class boundary and the lower class boundary of the next class is matching. But if it is given in this way, suppose 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39. We call this open class interval. Open class interval means 10 to 19 is there and then the next starting, the upper limit of this class is not matching with the lower limit of the next class. So these are known as open class interval. Now in case of open class interval, range cannot be found. Why it cannot be found? Because somebody, if you think, has got 19.5, you generally get marks like that, 19.5. In which class it belongs? The student belongs to which class? 10 to 19 or 20 to 29? Here we include only till 19. So students who are getting till 19 we will cover over here. And students who are getting from the next number 20 to 29 will be covered. 19.5 marks which lies in between 19 and 20, which is not covered or which is not included in any of the classes. So what can be done? So this is method. We have to add something and add something to the upper class boundary and subtract something from the lower class boundary. Now what we will add or subtract? What is the gap? 19 and next number is 20. The gap is of 1. We have to divide that by 2. Similarly, if it was 21 means 19 and 21. What is the gap between these two? The upper limit of the first class and the lower limit of the next class. That means if somebody has got 20, will not be included in any of the class. So the gap is of 2. 21 minus 19 gives you 2. That time we have to do 2 divided by 2. That will be equal to 1. So we will be adding 1 over here, subtracting 1 over here. But here, since the given number was 20, the gap between 20 and 19 is 1. We will divide it by 2, we get 0.5. So we have to add 0.5 over here, subtract 0.5, so it becomes 9.5. Same thing you have to do. From here, if you subtract, it becomes 19.5. Here you have to add, it becomes 29.5. Again subtract from here. So now it becomes continuous because this matches. Now when you have converted into a continuous class interval, now you can find the range by the same method, that is the maximum marks that can be obtained or the maximum value of x can be 39.5, the upper class boundary of this class, minus the lowest value which x can take, the lowest class see the lower limit. So 9.5 is the lowest. So 39.5 minus 9.5 will give you the range. So in this video, I have discussed how to calculate dispersion or deviation by range. That is, if the x values are only given, if x value are given with frequency table, if x values are of class interval having a upper and lower limit, and if they are not continuous, that means if they are open, you have to make them continuous and find the range, because the frequency table is of no use in case of range.